G'day ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing? Scotty49 here with you once again for another installment in the Warhammer 40,000 for the New Guys series. Now, as I did tease at the end of the Necron segment of this series, we're going to be covering the next faction, and this one is near and dear to my heart, is my current playing army for Warhammer 40,000, as well as my favorite one in 9th edition for my main army, the Space Marines, and that is the Deathwatch. I was starting off today by digging into the lore and the background in the universe of where the Deathwatch come from and their origins, which are actually quite well disputed, and I've chosen the origin story that I think is where they actually came from instead of one of the other rumors that they are within the lore. But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, as we're going to keep on churning out these For the New Guy videos as we go through each and every faction and bring you more information of them over time as well. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump into it. Alrighty, so to start off with the lore of the Deathwatch, once again we have to turn time back by close to 8,000 years in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, to a time where the origins of the Deathwatch aren't pinpointed to an exact point, but they can be traced back to the 32nd millennia. Now, during this time, there was one of the largest orc wars purging throughout the galaxy since the Ulanor Crusade during the closing years of the Great Crusade. And this war was led by a warlord only known as the Beast. And yes, Games Workshop have done a series of books called the Beast Arising series talking about this exact war. So if you want to dig deeper into the lore of this actual part of the Warhammer 40,000 universe and its history, feel free to read up on that series. Now, this orc war was invading throughout the galaxy and even threatened Terra itself. Now, during this war, known as the War of the Beast, the sole surviving member of the Imperial Fists chapter master Corelland, he was only freshly elected as well to being the Lord Commander of the Imperium at the time. Corelland devised the idea to form small elite Space Marine kill teams that were to covertly eliminate vital strategic targets to the war, and to be able to hinder their efforts in pushing forward and taking more worlds and subduing more worlds under their rule. Now, the Higher Lords of Terra at the time were reluctant to first agree with the Lord Commander's idea. However, desperate times called for desperate measures, and they eventually agreed to seeing this happen. Now, the initial recruits of these kill teams were actually selected from the surviving forces of the chapters that have taken part in the initial invasion of the Beast's capital world, Ulanor. Now, watching over their fallen brothers in this role, the seeds of the Deathwatch were sown. After the Beast himself was slain by one of these elite Space Marine kill teams, the Inquisition itself divided for the first time into two different Ordo Majoruses. The Ordo Malleus, which looks after demons and demon hunting, and the Ordo Xenos, looking after Xenos and Xenos hunting. The Deathwatch were chosen to be the militant arm of the Ordo Xenos. However, they worked more closely together in a partnership rather than the Inquisition dictating to the Deathwatch in such a way that the Ordo Xenos would hunt out and track down alien threats for the Deathwatch to be sent in and eradicate. The Deathwatch are unlike any normal chapter of Space Marines, where instead of having their own recruits coming up from their recruiting world and getting genetically enhanced through the gene seed implementation and that entire process of creating a Space Marine, they actually request from the normal Space Marine chapters veterans to be sent to serve as a part of the Deathwatch to protect the Imperium against these Xenos threats. However, these requests do go both ways, with currently many chapters requesting that their veterans be returned from their service within the Deathwatch to help their chapter in the fights that they are currently in, as well as raising up new recruits. There are also rare instances where a Space Marine actually dishonors themselves to such an extent where they have chosen to flee from their chapter, flee from their battle brothers, and have run to the Deathwatch. And this is the only way that they can actually flee. If they are found anywhere else, they will actually be killed. To those who actually do end up making it to a Deathwatch Watch Fortress, they are sworn to duty as a Black Shield. Now, these Black Shields are stripped of their chapter's iconography, any honorary items that they were given by their chapter to serve eternal penance as a member of the Deathwatch until their death. Now, no matter what Xenos foes the Deathwatch face, they will stand vigil for the long vigil to protect the Imperium with every ounce of strength that they are able to bring to bear to decimate not only Tyranids or Orcs or Genestealer cults, but also Eldari in all forms and the Tau Empire as well. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the brief summary of where I believe the Deathwatch originated from, and a little bit more lore about where some Deathwatch veterans come together. Alrighty everyone, well I hope that you've enjoyed this brief summary of the Deathwatch's lore and one of their potential origin stories. If you do want to find out about that second origin story, feel free to find out yourself and let me know down in the comment section whether you think my origin story is more likely or the other one is. And if you haven't already, feel free to like the video and subscribe on the channel as well, so you get to catch more Deathwatch content in this series, and when I'm playing live games and doing battle reports with my Deathwatch as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to ask any questions here about it or talk to me here on YouTube in the comments, that's okay. Feel free to come and find me when I'm live on Twitch every Tuesday and Friday night and Saturday afternoons Australian Eastern Standard Time currently, where we do all manner of hobby streams, live games, and tournament coverage, where I do travel to tournaments across the east coast of Australia and some of the southern parts as well to bring you the Australian Warhammer 40k tournament scene. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.